I'm one of the older cases of surprise. I predate direct-to-consumer DNA testing. In 1998, I was between semesters of college and visiting my dad in California, and he asked me for a PCR test. That's a paternity test.
So why would he do that? Was it out of the blue?
Sort of. We had spent the day visiting Catalina on it was a company called Discovery Tours, which I found really funny. And we're on the ferry back from Catalina Island to the mainland, and my dad says, "Please don't cry, but I've always doubted my paternity. And up until now, I've been able to say, you look like your mom. And now I really need to know, would you be willing to do a DNA test?" And he was very clear that he didn't want to force me to take the test. And he would talk to my mom first if I preferred. And I was like, oh, no, 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 don't talk to mom.
And how old were you?
20. Yeah.
20. Wow.
Yeah. And so, of course, I said yes because it was a shock, but I had questions.
Well, yeah, who wouldn't after something like that? When he asked you that, what's the first thing that went into your head?
Oh, I immediately cried.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
and it's like, don't think about elephants. Don't cry. Of course I cried. It was my
Yeah.
daddy, and he was saying that I was probably not his, and that he'd like to get a test if I'd be willing to, and it hurt. It hurt
Mhm.
because it wasn't aimed at me, but it hurt because it was a sort of like othering.
Sure. Us versus them kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys get the test.
So we
Obviously, no
go.
surprise.
We get the swabs, and I go home to New York, and I get ready to go to college. This is a fall semester, and I go to college and I get two things. I get a phone call and I get a greeting card with my results inside. I don't even remember what the greeting card was. I just remember thinking it was like existentially ridiculous that I was getting my results in a greeting card. But on the phone, my dad said, "Oh, I am so sorry, sweetie. We were correct. I am not your biological father." He made it clear that he's my dad and he feels he'll always be my dad. But to be quite honest, I think that having that level of honesty in our relationship has brought us closer because he did treat me a little differently. I mean, I don't think it was on purpose, but he did treat me a little different to my sister.
So you have an older sister.
I do. I have a half sister that we were raised to be full sisters. So we never, even after finding out, we didn't call it half sister.
Well, sure.
Uh,
So she's your dad's.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was true for people always ask, should I tell my dad or not? Dad doesn't know. And for me too, it brought me and my raising dad closer because now we
Yeah.
have this truth between us. I think it clears the air and it explains so much in a way.
It does. So that's the positive part. The negative part is that I was a ball of rage. And my dad offered to talk to my mom again and again, and I'm like, "Oh, hell no, don't do that. I will talk to mom because I've always been like inappropriately protective of my parents." I'm like,
Mm,
let me drop the boom. I'll bring the results with me. She won't be able to refute it. And I did. And like I could have predicted the response. It was anger and sadness.
mm.
And I think probably a little relief because she had been planning to carry that on her own forever until she died.
I was just going to ask about your mom, because I feel the whole body keeps score thing really plays a role. I mean, secrets permeate in a way that people don't realize. It sounds like that was true for your mom.
There were some weird things over the years. I remember when I was a little girl, I asked, "What do I have from Daddy? Jessica looks just like him. What do I have?" And my mom's answer was his elbows. And
I'm
it's
sorry.
it's a running gag in the community. It really is. I mean, and other people have similar stories. As an adult, I'm like, what was I thinking? That's not okay. So when things came out, even though it was really rough for her, I feel like it was this huge relief, at least to myself, my sister, and my dad. But I did tailspin. I was college age and I was 20. And what do we think I did to cope? I drank.
Mhm.
I did the sex and the drinking.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I feel I really can't judge mom too harshly is my acting out was pretty epic. And actually, because we had gotten to a point where we couldn't get along at all, even though I had head back to college after talking to my mom, one of her best friends offered that I could go out to La Push, Washington, and help out at the tribal school on Quileute Reservation. And so my mom's best friend took me in for basically a semester and allowed me to, as she put it, yell at the trees, which was life-changing and amazing.
Well,
And
that's a beautiful spot to go yell at the trees. If you're going to go yelling at the trees, it's one I would recommend.
yeah, I'm forever grateful to her friend and my mom for that. That was a gift.
So, did mom have anything to say when you said, "Hey, mom, dad and I did this test"?
Yeah, she gave me a name, which I'm
Mhm.
very grateful for, the right name.
That was my next question. So, thank you for you have since you have determined for sure via DNA it's the right name, I imagine.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's a longer story as well. Um, but to start that off, they were very, very young when they married, my mom and dad. They were 20. And my sister was about 2 when I was born. And so they were very, very young and working on a show where they lived, and it was a bunch of hippies living on a mountain. And the way I couch it these days is, what did they think was going to happen? It's a bunch of hippies on a mountain.
And yep,
I'm
we
very certain
love
I'm not the only one who resulted from that time. I had some time looking, if we went back and looked at Roots Web or Gen Forum, they didn't archive all the different message boards and things. You would see a very weird set of posts, me going, so I'm trying to find Raymond. This is his surname list. So anybody know Raymond? I think I'm his daughter. And it was like radio silence. I did switch gears and use an early version of People Finder, White Pages has become now, and found him in about 5 minutes once I found that site.
you connected, you found Raymond.
I did, and I decided on a physical letter that there was an option to email him, but I was like, oh, he's going to think I'm crazy. So I write this 3-page letter, which I now have in my possession because since he died, his widow actually sent it to me, which is very sweet. It's very businesslike when I reread it. Like it's more businesslike than I remember it being. It's like I think I'm your daughter, and I already have a lot of parents because there's been divorce and remarriage and steps and all kinds of stuff. But I'm curious about you. I'm curious about siblings. I'm curious about whether you want to meet me. And if you would like a friend, I would be very interested in that.
It's kind of weird how your heart, like, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
your heart's like pounding in your chest when you're trying to write that letter.
It is.
How many iterations you write it, you cross it off, you keep going, you come back.
You know, in all honesty, I don't remember how many, but I'm sure it was a lot because I was a very dramatic kid and like I probably went through a bunch of them and I was like, I can't say that. No, I can't say that. But I did say in the letter, I need you, at least if you send 1 or 2 sentences telling me not to bother you, that would be a response. What can't happen is nothing. I just need to hear that you received the letter and we can move on from there. And he called me at 8:30 a.m. on a Saturday, which told me he didn't have any college age kids. Was
Or maybe he
thrilled.
had little tiny kids because a lot of us
He
with small ones are up early.
he had a 10-year-old, Russell, and Russ was interested in me as well. It was wonderful to talk to him. It was also very daunting. I've never been super comfortable with the ins and outs of added family because, like, when do you say you love them? How does that progress when it's like this middle of the journey edition? And I think we navigated it pretty well overall. We did wind up meeting twice, once in 2005 and once later. It was either 2007 or 2009. But I actually participated in his second wedding and I got a mention in his obituary.
Oh,
It
all
was
we want is acknowledgement,
I
right?
know. I was like, I read that and the tears are streaming down, not only because he was gone, but also because, oh my God, he acknowledged me, like really acknowledged me. And that was
Yeah.
everything.
It is everything. I mean, that affirmation family is so important. I think navigating these relationships, it sounds like you have an expanded family. I grew up with somebody, her mom and dad divorced, and then they remarried. They were married while 2 to 12, and then they divorced and remarried. And she kept some of those step parents, even with her new step parents. And all of them had kids with each other and the new ones and all the things. I once had to say, just draw it out for me because like I can't even figure it
I
out.
literally do that whenever I go to a new therapist, and I've gone to a few. I bring a pamphlet with me that explains who's who, and with little icons, little photos, and everything. Just
I mean,
because
it's helpful.
got really tired of people. Okay, so who's that? Okay, so who's that? Who's that? Okay, you have a stepfather, you have a biological father, and you have a dad. And it's vitally important that I don't call these other two guys dad. Okay, gotcha.
Got it. Got it. But we know how to navigate that because we accept it in the step parent world. So I always find it just weird to me that people have a hard time with us having genetic parents. It's not that complicated, truly. I mean, yes, it's complicated, but at the same time, we can handle step parents. So why not?
Actually, all of this created a perfect environment for me to be a stepmother. I chose not to have biological children, partially because of the cluster that is my family. But I
I
joined a
understand
family
that.
that had two beautiful boys, and they're the lights of my life. And because I've navigated all of this, I was able to help one of them through his situation. And I married into the right family, multiple generations of surprises and adoptions, and turned out pretty damn good, I gotta say.
Isn't that crazy, Amanda, how these things just come from all sorts of different aspects in our lives? I feel like I find somebody almost definitely weekly. I meet somebody who's has adoption, assisted reproduction, or an NPE-ish
Yeah,
event.
we're everywhere.
Yeah,
We
we
really
are.
are. We are. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's so important that I say this. I don't feel that I can judge my mother for what happened. Like it's not my marriage, not my situation. And I've made plenty of my own mistakes, one of which she held my hand for. I had an abortion at 21 and she didn't agree with it, but she bought me flowers and basically brought me soup and was just this beautiful person for me. And it's part of what made some of the difficulties with my mother over keeping relatively quiet versus coming out so painful is that we were so close. And the upshot is that I really can't live two lives. And I love how much support and love she's given me from being a special needs child growing up with like childhood epilepsy and scoliosis and all this lovely stuff. And then me making my own mistakes that she didn't agree with and still supporting me. But me being open isn't about punishing her. It's not about her at all. It's about my mental health. And over the past year is when I really started to come out. The litmus for that, the kind of the tipping point for it was when I broke down and started crying after realizing my Christmas card photo had Raymond, his trinket urn, the little urn of ashes that I have from him, on my mantle in the background. And I freaked out. I was like, Mom's going to kill me. She's going to be so upset. And my family's all going to know and all of this stuff. And my husband goes, Really? I mean, this has been a part of your life for a long time. And this should not drive you crazy. You should be able to just have it be there in the background without worrying, without being so split about it. And he encouraged me to talk to my mom, and that was the worst conversation I think I've ever had in my life, but it was worth it. I
Mhm.
can't keep this anymore. This is how I get over or through it, is being open. And I know I'm coming late to the whole being open game, but that was last April, and I haven't looked back.
Being open, I think, is like ripping a band-aid off. It
Yeah,
brings it's painful, but it brings the light to the wound. But at the same time, I don't know if there's ever a good time, and we have to do it in our own
yeah,
when we're ready, But I
yeah.
am curious about your conversation with your mom. I mean, does she have a reason why she feels so much shame?
I don't know. That's between her and her therapist. What I feel is that her shame and her feeling about that needs to be separate from the way that I conduct my life. And it did feel a little bit like the sword of Damocles. I'm sure it was never specifically spelled out, but I got the impression many times over the years that if I spoke up, if I was out about this, I would lose her. And that's one of the reasons why I had that conversation is I literally told her, you can choose not to pick up the phone, but I will continue to call you. I
Hmm.
am your daughter. I love you. This is not about punishing you. This is about me doing what I need to do to keep living.
Right. I mean, it's for our mental health, I think, to be open about it,
Yeah.
to explore the relationships that we want to explore. And I love how you put it because it isn't a value judgment for our moms and our dads. So, are you still in a reunion with your half brother, with your brother?
Yes, he and I correspond from time to time. He's just as socially awkward as I am, maybe a little more so. And so we had that discussion early on, very frankly, like if one of us doesn't respond for a long time, it's not a rejection, it's just either losing track or not knowing what to say.
I think that's so important to be open and honest about those things so people understand because we don't know each other and we don't know how people interact. And so if you don't, we always read into it. My son, I texted my son the other day and he didn't, he's like, he called and I was like, yeah, he's like, I'm just calling back because I don't understand the emotion behind the text. So it's
Yeah.
important to like not give meaning to things because we fill in those blanks and some often they're wrong.
One of the reasons why it was so easy to believe my dad when he said he would not abandon me is that he already has a son who he's not biologically related to, but he's been on the scene since my little brother was born. And that's the way we were raised. I call him my brother, but I have no blood relationship with him, but I'm gonna go to his gathering later this year. He's having a hand fasting, so that'll be really cool.
See, family is and not or, right?
Exactly, exactly. Like I knew my dad would get that and that's why it was easy to trust that he'd still be there.